here with his observations and hopefully a few answers is the Minister for Sport, Tony Banks. The Premiership's back today and we'll focus on the emerging young talent on Merseyside as the Fab Four prepare for the Everton-Liverpool derby. We'll also put the spotlight on the Premiership's hottest team, Derby County. Alongside Tony Banks in the studio is Mark Lawrenson. We'll have their views shortly. But first, let's hear from the man who steered England to the World Cup finals. Ray Stubbs caught up with the England coach Glenn Hoddle at the end of a triumphant yet traumatic week.
When you were back at your desk and reflected on what happened in Rome, what are your thoughts now?
Well, obviously it was a fantastic evening. Football-wise, it was superb. I mean, to actually qualify for the World Cup, which we haven't done for eight years, has been absolutely a wonderful 12 months for us. And you know, it's a great opportunity for me now to thank the players and to thank all my staff, all the backroom staff, medical staff. It's been a massive effort. But as I said in the press conference afterwards, the hard work starts now.
It's been a pity that what you achieved has been diluted somewhat by all the talk of how the English fans were treated in Rome.
Yes, I'm glad you've asked me that, because I personally had four very good guests of mine go to the game, and some of the experiences that they actually went through were incredible. And the provocation that the England supporters and these people were put through was quite incredible. And the restraint of the supporters was fantastic. I mean, the support was marvellous on the night. I mean, everyone could see that. The verbal support, the problems in the stadium wasn't down to English supporters, without a doubt. But it's some of the things that my friends told me after the game, what happened when they were held in coaches and heaters were turned on and the doors were locked and they were moved 5 or 6 yards, and the provocation that the England supporters were put through. I need to say this because at the end of the day they haven't got a voice. The unfortunate thing, what my friend said, is that the atmosphere and the attitude was, well, we're not going to go to France if we're going to get treated like that. And I think that's such a shame, because we do need them type of supporters, which 99% of them went to Rome, were fantastic supporters for England. There was no trouble from them, and we need that sort of support. If we're going to win the World Cup, we need that support in France.
But surely some of the anger must be redirected at the fans that wreck England's reputation abroad. Shouldn't we be also targeting them and saying, well, let's sort them out because they're making it difficult for all of us?
I think you're right. I think we've come to a time where I think, you know, at government level, and I can't go into too many details, but I know that people in the FA, it's not my job, but people in the FA, we need to converse more with the government, which has been happening. And I think its time has come where we can we stop these people travelling? Can we stop them, you know? And I think we can, if the needs are there.
If we want to, we can.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. And it's something that needs to be delicately looked at. It's not my job to look at that. It's not my job's on the football side of things. But I say, you know, I've got a voice now, if you like. I say it is time that we actually look at that. And if we can prevent that, then that's going to take us a long, long way down the line. Our supporters have been fantastic.
Do you have a message for England's professional footballers? Is age in the past no barrier?
No barrier. No, whether you're a young 17-year-old or you're 36, it doesn't bother. It doesn't bother me. It's about talent, and who knows, there might be a few surprises.
It is an exciting time, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, you've asked me that on a very difficult week, but yeah, in the future, yeah, it's going to be, if you're a footballer and you love your football, whether you're a player or a supporter, it's an exciting time if you've qualified for the World Cup, and we're going to be there. Yeah, it's a lot to look forward to.
Are you ready? Are you dealing with the expectation, the responsibility, and the fact that you're becoming public property? You've seen that this week.
No, I knew that when I took the job over. I think as a club manager, you're to a certain degree you're public property. Certainly the England coach, you're public. Look, I'll only say one thing is, you know, there's a lot of private things to be said about what's happened this week. It's nothing to do with the job, I can assure you. You know, these things happen in life, and but I can assure you all the things that they're saying about the pressure of the job, no, I've been able to deal with that. That's not a problem. So it's just one of them things.
Do you ever sit down and think, well, don't mind playing them, wouldn't want to play them? There's some good teams in this competition.
Well, I'm not going to tempt fate, but as I say, I think we can go there along with about 6 or 7 other countries that I really feel you could say there's a batch of favourites, if you like. and I'll allow myself to say we might just be in them favourites. But football's a strange game, but I think we've got the confidence, and I certainly feel we've got the players to actually achieve it. We need a little bit of good fortune, but we need the right preparation, we need everything done, and in many ways we need the whole country behind us, from the media to the supporters to everyone. And if we can do it all together, then fine. It's not just me, it's not just the players, it's the supporters, it's all the staff, it's everybody working in a very positive frame of mind to give us the best possible chance. You can't promise anything, but if you get the best jockey on the horse, you've got a good chance.
Tony Banks, Minister for Sport, thanks very much for coming in today. Message from Glenn Hoddle seemed to be quite clear there. He wants help from the government to keep this unwanted element away. Can you provide that?
Oh yes, so there's no doubt about it at all. I mean, the Prime Minister's made it clear that by the end of November, he wants a strategy for the finals in France next year, and he's going to get that strategy. There's a ministerial group that will be discussing all the matters that Glenn himself has actually raised. There are some who quite deliberately travel with the England team, and they are serious troublemakers. These are the sort of people who have themselves been subject to exclusion orders from their own club grounds. They're the sort of people who were causing the trouble. I mean, they're attached to various club firms, as you know.
Can you realistically keep them away, though?
Well, you see, that's
travelling. Difficult in France.
Well, this is the point. You see, we're looking at a whole range of measures. There's no way that we're going to allow people to spoil the finals, because, as you know, it won't just be the finals that they'll spoil. They'll also spoil our chances of getting the 2006 World Cup in England as well. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that you mind this hooliganism you keep hearing about. There are some very serious people out there, you know, who go and organise trouble. They effectively have been forced out of doing it in this country and are now beginning to do it internationally. Now, that means that we have to systematically approach this one. And I can tell you, if you want to take on, as it were, the power of the state in terms of organisation, then that is going to be something that only the state ultimately will win. So we're taking this deadly seriously, and the Prime Minister is taking the lead.
So what can the government do? Will you take the passports
There
away?
is a whole range. I mean, Gary, the point is that, you know, there's a whole range of things that we can look at. I mean, first of all, the courts undoubtedly could impose more restriction orders. There are 400 exclusion orders that have been issued, but only 9 restriction orders, which prevents people from travelling abroad. We are determined, and we'll use whatever methods we have to use, and whatever proposals need to be made will be made to make sure that those people who set out deliberately, and there's a big issue, different issue about what happened in Rome, those who set out deliberately to cause trouble, we are going to deal with them seriously, and this is something that we're absolutely determined about, and no one should underestimate our ability or our determination to fix it.
What about that other issue of the way the decently behaved English supporters were treated in Rome? What was your view on that?
Well, I've had hundreds of letters coming in, and each one of them's being examined. I've had meetings with of supporters. I've talked to Italian fans as well, I might add, whilst I was out there in Rome on the Sunday. And I've got a very comprehensive picture. We're waiting for information from the National Football Intelligence Unit. Incidentally, it was me, the first person, when I was a backbench member of Parliament years ago, who suggested that the violence within our domestic game had to be dealt with systematically through a special police unit. It was poo-pooed. It was dismissed as nonsense by the Home Secretary of the day. Now we have the intelligence unit, but I think we're going to have to expand their activities as well. But the fact is that there were a large number, as Glenn has said, of decent, ordinary, travelling supporters who had terrible experiences there, from being kept in the ground up to 3 hours, to finding themselves, because of the trouble that started, caught up in some pretty awful stuff. And people are saying, this is what we're worried about, is that the people that are writing to me and seeing me are now saying, this is the first time that I travelled with England. I'm never going to travel again. Now, we mustn't allow that to happen, because if the decent fans decide to stay at home, the only people who will travel with England are either those who are out to cause trouble or those who actually are prepared to endure trouble. Now, football and hooliganism have got to be separated out, and we're determined, absolutely determined, that we're going to do it.
So what reassurances will you be looking for from the French authorities? What reassurances personally will you be seeking for France next year, that it doesn't happen again, even though there was obviously a lot of provocation?
We, unfortunately, in this country, have acquired an expertise at dealing with football hooliganism, which is second to none. I mean, it's not a proud boast, but because of the trouble we had in the 70s and 80s, our police and stewarding and clubs have organised the sort of control inside the grounds that, as we saw in Euro 96, that wouldn't have prevented. I mean, what happened in Rome would simply not have happened in England. We know that. But we have now got to offer, as we do, but we've got to offer in a more systematic way that expertise to the French authorities. And that is exactly what the Prime Minister wants. He wants a strategy from us so that he can talk at the highest level to the French authorities, so that we can share with them our acquired experience and make sure that this doesn't happen. And there's a whole range of things that we can actually offer to the French. And I know the French obviously will be as keen to make sure that the World Cup next year isn't spoiled, as unfortunately the match in Rome was somewhat marred, and it took away from what was a wonderful England achievement.
I was going to ask you that. It's not a bad moment to be Sports Minister with England and Scotland getting through to the finals.
Yes, I mean, but I am the English Sports Minister. I leave other people to worry about Scotland. I mean, I always said, and you know, I got rather pulled to pieces on this and misquoted. I said that I thought that England could do very well, which meant that I knew we would get to the. Well, I say knew. I mean, I thought we would get to the finals.
So you didn't say England couldn't win?
No. Precisely the opposite. I was asked, will England win? Now, you know, I mean, even Glenn can't say that. And I said, no, I think England could do very well, which means that we could win. Now, in football, that's about as far as you can go. And that was said last July. The results since then have indicated, I think, to the whole country that we must be up there as one of the favourite nations. But it's a tough old world, as Glenn said.
Finally, Tony, can Chelsea win this afternoon? I don't think so, not against Leicester.
I am certain that we will win this afternoon.
Well, as Leicester have not won there in the last 17 visits, you're probably right. Thanks very much for coming in this afternoon. Now, England, of course, managed to qualify for the World Cup finals despite not scoring in Italy. There were, however, lots of goals elsewhere, including a couple of vital strikes, of course, for Scotland. Here's our group-by-group guide to European qualification.
A goalless draw between Greece and Denmark in Athens left the way open for Croatia to claim the playoff place in Group 1. Slovenia had only taken a point from their previous 7 matches and proved compliant opposition. Croatia's array of attacking talent is led by Davor Šuker, 1-0 after 11 minutes, the famed left foot responsible. Close to half-time, a corner found the head of Zvonimir Soldo, and visibly Slovenian resistance was crumbling by the minute. A third goal was hardly necessary, but it arrived nonetheless, Šuker's cross picking out Alan Boksic. The small crowd in Ljubljana did at least have a home goal to cheer. Zlatko Zahovic was the scorer, with arguably the best header of the lot. Denmark win the group. Croatia didn't always react well to the big stage during Euro 96, so their playoff against the Ukraine seems hard to call.
In Group 3, Norway had long ago navigated their way up the fjord to automatic qualification. Second place was a surprise. A scrambled own goal in the last minute gave Hungary a draw that knocked back Finland. Switzerland's 5 goals against Azerbaijan were not enough to save coach Ralf Ringer. After only 11 games in charge, he's been told his contract won't be renewed.
Austria required a win against Belarus to ensure automatic qualification, whatever Scotland might achieve elsewhere. And from Herzog's corner, veteran skipper Tony Polster led the way, as he has so often down the years, with the first of his 2 goals. Peter Stöger also scored twice. His second, Austria's 4th, was again created by Herzog and arrived with half-time still some minutes away. Austria's qualification had long since been confirmed, and the Viennese send-off was as splendid as the city itself. Stress was replaced by Strauss, although energetic the dancing was not. Scottish celebrations tend to be more raucous, and nearly 50,000 were inside Celtic Park, needing only a victory over Latvia as an excuse to start the party.
Hendry. That's well played by Collins. Gallagher! Gallagher has scored! Burley. Now he's made the room. Can he find the cross? Out to Boyd. To Gallagher. Just over the top of the crossbar in! Gordon Dury gets the second. Scotland will go to France, barring an amazing result in Spain later today.
That result didn't come. Austria will be competing in the finals for the 7th time. The key to their success was beating Sweden twice. Scotland qualify as the side with the best record among the European runners-up. Sweden, third in 1994, miss out completely.
The two leading positions in Group 5 were already settled before this meeting in Moscow. On the day, Russia were always too smart for Bulgaria, the leaders. Sergei Uran's strength on soft going helped pave the way for Dmitry Alenichev to open the score. Russia went 3 up thanks to a couple of penalties, one converted by Uran. Did I hear someone say Millwall reject? Well, he was involved again as Alenichev ran through to score his second. Although it finished 4-2, Bulgaria take the place they always seem to get in the finals. Russia still have to battle for theirs. Two nations who don't rise to the big occasions claiming the top positions here because they were drawn with 3 nations who couldn't muster even half a world-class team between them.
Spain's record is impressive. They're now ranked 2nd in the world behind Brazil by FIFA and finished with a 3-1 win over the Faroe Isles. Yugoslavia's 5-0 victory in Malta was therefore in vain. They face a playoff, while the Czechs, 15 months on from their appearance in the Euro 96 final, have some empty dates in their diary.
Penalties given and not given were a major talking point in Brussels. Belgium took the lead with a debatable one. Bobby Gould was adamant that Wales had more valid claims rejected. Instead, Belgium went further ahead. That was Gert Claessens making it 2-0. 5 minutes later, Belgium added a third. Mark Wilmots, who won his first cap as long ago as 1990, scored his first international goal for 4 years. But Wales had made Ryan Giggs captain for the first time, and he was in inspirational form. Early in the second half, he earned the penalty that Mark Pembridge converted, and on the hour, 40,000 Belgians started to get a little concerned as Giggs claimed the goal he fully deserved. But it was so near, but not quite near enough. A 5th defeat in 8 qualifiers left Wales well adrift. Holland's defence conceded only 4 goals in the whole campaign, so they take their welcome place in France-Belgium playoff.
Romania arrived in Dublin with the only perfect record in Europe. Played 8, won 8, so it was to the Republic's credit that they became the only team to trouble them unduly. A typically spectacular free kick by Hagi had put the Romanians ahead, but the Irish, fielding a number of second-string players to protect others from the risk of suspension for the playoff, equalised late on through Tony Cascarino with his 19th international goal, just one short of Frank Stapleton's record, which now comes under threat in the forthcoming matches with Belgium. The Republic's fans know all about playoffs after their meeting with the Dutch 2 years ago. Romania were the clearest group winners of all. Their record is as impressive as Liechtenstein's is implausible.
Don't speak too soon, but there are signs that Germany, even though unbeaten in Group 9, are not as formidable as of old. Against Albania, Jurgen Kohler contrived an effort past his own keeper that might just win Goal of the Month in Tirana. After 55 minutes of stalemate, party time. Helmer had first dip in the brand tub, 1 apiece. Germany twice took the lead, twice Albania equalised. It was in the 2nd minute of added time that Oliver Bierhoff, the former choir boy, put his name on the decisive goal. Bertie Vogts didn't duck. We have a hell of a lot of work ahead of us, he said. So the table may flatter Germany, but what does it tell us about Ukraine? Their 2-0 win in Armenia earns them a playoff chance and leaves Portugal plenty of time to start booking summer holidays. Woe betide the travel agent who recommends France.
After 18 months of competition, the European qualification situation has been resolved. Well, nearly. The other group winners joining England at the World Cup finals are Denmark, Norway, Austria, Bulgaria, Spain, Holland, Romania and Germany. And Scotland qualify as the best runners-up. Which leaves Croatia, Italy, Hungary, Russia, Yugoslavia, Belgium, the Republic of Ireland and the Ukraine with a nervous appointment in the playoffs. And the draw, made in Zurich on Monday, came up with these 2-legged ties. The Republic of Ireland against Belgium, Croatia against the Ukraine, Hungary versus Yugoslavia and Russia against Italy.
John Champion and Gerald Sinstadt with the Train Spotters Guide there. Mark, could be worse for the Republic of Ireland, couldn't it? Belgium.
Well, I think, you could have had the Ukraine, Russia, Italy, and any of those teams. I think in a perfect world they would have happily been, the second leg at home. I think they have to win the first leg, Guy, to have any real chance of qualifying. And of course, they've been through this system before for Euro '96, where they had to play Holland at Anfield. No, it didn't happen there when Jack actually picked a very, very defensive team and his side got torn apart. But they've got a chance, and I think that's the only thing you can ask for going into the playoffs, certainly.
For Scotland, the worrying's over, of course. Terrific performance from them. And at last, they seem to have found someone to score goals consistently.
Yeah, I mean, Gallagher's a boy, isn't he? And I think he's played with a variety of other people in that position. Darren Jackson, obviously, Gordon Jury as well has had a spell there. And Duncan Ferguson no longer, because he's retired from Scottish international scene, which is an absolute puzzle to everybody. Yeah, he must be all of 26, mustn't he? But yes, I think he's been the difference. And also, I think the manager's very shrewd, Craig Brown. I think he's seen a lot of games. He's seen a lot of systems, different systems from teams. And I think he's moulded his players into a very good unit. And also, the great thing is, and I don't want to take this in the wrong way, they've got no great stars, no real so-called stars. They've got outstanding players, very organised, work very hard, and I think they've got a club spirit at international level, which has taken them a long way.
And England, they sort of out-Italian the Italians, really, didn't they? It was a terrific performance, kept the ball possession much better than I've seen before,
I think anybody who was failed to be impressed by that performance when living in Cloud Cuckoo Land. I thought they were disciplined, they were controlled. I think that the most important thing was Glenn Hoddle picked the absolute right team for the occasion, and even people like Gascoigne, the most disciplined performance I've ever seen from him for many, many years. And everybody seemed so confident. That was the other thing. And in the end, I mean, we were left with the spectre of Italy just lumping the ball into the penalty area the last 15 to 20 minutes. They used 4 forwards, of which none were very successful. They pulled Zola off, they pulled all the other players off, and it just showed you how well England performed on the night. And also, I think the great thing was that because it was in the Lions' Den, because it was Rome, and England went there with lots of confidence, and it showed.
OK, thanks. Well, Mark picked him out. One of England's stars last week was unquestionably Paul Gascoigne. And as usual this week, there's been plenty of speculation about Gazza's future in the papers, suggesting that he's on his way to Villa. Well, Brian Little's being a little cagey, but certainly doesn't rule it out.
At this moment in time, it's important to state the facts, and the facts are that at the moment we're playing 2 games of football. Then we may well address the situation at the club of buying new players if they are available. I suppose the message would be, with all the speculation going around, really nothing will go on now until we return from Europe, and then we'll see, I guess. Then we'll wait and see.
With the World Cup coming up, do you think it will be of benefit to Paul Gascoigne himself moving south? Better, stronger league, or not?
I think it's 2 schools of thought, Gary. People say, well, surely with more difficult games in the Premiership than in the Premier League in Scotland, that Paul Gascoigne will get fitter. But then, of course, he runs the risk of getting injured. But I certainly believe that, to come back and play in the Premiership will be a benefit to him. And I think also the fact of the threat from the likes of Scholes and Butt, Beckham, all the younger element of the team, I think he's taken that very seriously. I think Glenn Hoddle's played such a great part with Paul Gascoigne. Obviously sat him down loads of occasions and said, listen, you have to be right for us, because if you're not, these young pretenders will take your place.
4 million, would it be a good buy? Would you spend that on him?
No.
Why not?
I think 4 million is a lot of money for someone. People say leopards don't change the spots, for someone who you're not quite sure when he's high or when he's low. But I think it's a lot of money. But obviously it's a gamble that I think Brian Little is prepared to take on Aston Villa's behalf.
But he can certainly play. Now, because of all the World Cup qualifiers, there's been no Premiership action now for a fortnight. The league, though, resumes today with a number of intriguing games, including the Merseyside derby. On display at Goodison this afternoon will be some of the finest young talent in the country. And as some of them are barely out of school, we sent father figure Garth Crooks to meet them.
It's not unusual these days for footballers to assume pop star status. One player who seems to be moving in that direction is Liverpool's Michael Owen.
Here's young Owen, how cool can he
A lot of the little kids, they've got Liverpool shirts on now, and you see a lot of in windows with a little Owen and 18 on the number 18 on the window, stuck to the back of the cars or whatever.
Young Owen is a self-confessed Evertonian from the days when his father played for the club. However, Terry Owen spent most of his career at Chester, where the family still lives.
And it's running in! And Owen is going to get the credit!
When did you feel you were going to be a professional footballer?
Really, since I've been able to remember kicking a ball or whatever, I've not wanted to do anything else while being a professional footballer. It wasn't my dad's influence in any way, let me do what I want, but I've always, since I can remember, wanted to be a professional.
And Owen had a dream debut when he came off the subs bench against Wimbledon in May.
Here's Owen. You couldn't write the storyline better, could you?
And obviously it was bad for the club as we got beaten, we were out the championship race, but yeah, that was a big moment for me. It was my first appearance in the Liverpool shirt, and to score on your debut away from home was a real achievement for me.
Only 2 years ago, Owen was very much a part of the England schoolboy setup. Scoring a hat-trick against Belgium was to present him with his first taste of media attention, courtesy of Blue Peter.
Michael here, who scored a hat-trick, and I've got a great pleasure to hand you over the ball from today's match. Well done.
Blue Peter filmed us throughout the week of our preparations, and yeah, and they did a piece on the match. Yeah, so I appeared on that with a Blue Peter badge at the end of it.
For such a young player, Owen possesses remarkable composure.
I enjoy the big occasion, the big matches, and like Robbie Fowler, it seems to produce it on the big occasions, and I like to think I was like that in a way, and